The thing about Soothe that was amazing was, as I said to you before, it's not EQ, it's not compression, it's not gating, it truly is something new that transpired, you know? And just the fact that you can actually like take something that it might be, even haven't been recorded well, but it has one frequency that is like really spiky or strident or just not sitting where you need it to be, but everything else is come into place, you know? Applying that just like a blanket application too, just instance on, you know, tweaked very minorly and everything, you hear results right away, you know? And there are so many plugins and there's so many effects pedals and different things in the world where you plug them in and you're really scrounging to get the effect to kick into gear. And for me, Soothe really blew my mind because it was just like it's an immediate satisfactory response in terms of what the plugin actually does, you know? And we're just talking about in just minor applications, you know? So putting on vocals where there's a spike, putting on bass where there's like maybe a lot of low mid pumping and really, you know, depending on the performer, it might have, you know, it might be unruly in a certain frequency area. It's just incredible what that thing will do with, and this is just being like, you know, being kid gloves with it as well. It just tones things down, and you start getting into like applying it more and everything. You just are hearing the results right away. So that really blew my mind. That combined with the fact that it was something I was really hoping existed early in my career, but didn't, you know. It just settles things that EQ doesn't settle. It settles things that compression doesn't settle. And it's really its own kind of unique voice in terms of, you know, what it offers to, you know, an engineer's overall toolkit. In terms of using it in the extreme, it's become a new effect. There's actually a song I wish I could play you. I can't because I'm in NDA land on it and it's about to be released. The time will come, but I did a really interesting thing in a whole breakdown in a song where I applied it in different ways across different instruments, but as an effect, and really exaggerated the degree of it, the depth of it, and what it did in this song, and it's become something I've messed around with a little bit since. It became sort of like an alternative to that typical club thing that we've gotten used to, which has infused its way into pop music in the last 20 years. The low pass envelope filter in the extreme, the kind of Daft Punk oriented thing. When I'm applying Soothe like that, like in a drum loop or, you know, or in a whole, in the instance of this song I'm talking about, an entire breakdown, it just is a completely new character to it, a completely new voice in doing that sort of like sonic dissolve to a whole track, you know, where you're trying to like change the scenery and change the sonic landscape essentially, you know. So just highlight the fact that it can be used as an exaggerated effect to taste, I think is really important as well. It's just something I'm still getting used to exploring it in that way, you know. But the thing that I like about it is it's become a new bit of my sort of experimental palette, not just my, you know, not just the utilitarian aspect of like, you know, this track could use a little control here or there, you know. So I like it for that. I like the fact that it's got more reach to it than just the obvious thing that people think about, you know. You know, people on forums will say, hey, I need something to really, you know, tone down, you know, the guitars I'm cutting. They're always seeing brash at one point and stuff. And people will say, oh, you need to get Soothe, you need to get Soothe, and rightly so. But it's more than that, is what I'm trying to say. It's got far more reach to it, in a creative capacity. If I'm honest, I've got several other transient plugins for transient control and everything. The thing I like about Spiff is it seems like it is doing the frequency suppression thing that's happening in Soothe. They seem to have applied that to Spiff as well. So that what it does is it enhances all the transients as you would expect, but it does seem like it's more varied. I like the fact that you can do it differently in the bottom end, you can do it differently in the top end, and the middle can punch a lot better, but you can do all these, very frequency range specific controls to just different parts of even just one instrument, like in a bass or even a vocal. I think when I was talking to Colby, I think he was surprised to hear that I'm like using transient plugins on vocals quite a bit just to have presence more articulate, and I'm certain there must be other people doing that, but I don't hear a lot of people talking about it myself. But I've been doing it quite a bit to, with great results. But the thing I love about it is just that spiff specifically is that they have the independent controls across the frequency range, and that's what I like. And it does it in a completely different way than any other one I've used before. I think there's a lot of transient plugins on the market, and it would be very tempting for people to go, oh, I don't need another one. For me, it's a completely different, distinct piece of gear because of that. That's probably the biggest thing for me. The independence across the frequency spectrum of an individual instrument or even a track, I mean, I have I don't know how often people are doing this. I have done a spiff instance across an entire mix once too. And I'm still working out, if I'm completely honest, I'm still working out how to best approach that, but I got a really good result of that in one song before, and get some really extra thump down below and some, extra punch up top and some snap, So yeah, it's just an incredible product. I wish I knew how they were doing. It's absolute black magic. Okay, in this example, I am going to use Soothe to show how a kick drum can be enhanced in terms of not only its sonic quality and its depth, and particularly the low end, but also the articulation of the punch, but also how some less than desirable mid-range frequencies can be harnessed and toned down. This is a reasonable recording that we've just done, so I'm very happy with it as it is, but even in this instance, it will highlight some ways in which it can just be finessed and enhanced that much more to a pleasing effect. Here goes. Okay, now I'm going to use Soothe to tame a hi-hat, not only in the low frequency, particularly where there's been bleed or spill on the mic, but also in some of the upper frequencies that might need to be tamed. This recording, once again, I'm quite happy with on its own, but I will just over-exaggerate just to show what is possible with Soothe and just the extremes to which you can harness and really finesse and make specific frequencies much more suppressed or articulate. Okay, and now I'm going to just give a very quick example of some ways that soothe can be used in the extreme. Lately, I've been using it as an alternative to things like low-pass envelope filters and various things like that. It doesn't quite do the same thing. It takes on a life of its own. And this is just one example of some of the extremes in which it can produce and everything. It's really something that should be explored and tried in various different instruments. This is it across the entire drum kit. It will sound extremely different across different loops, and then across vocals and lots of different things that can be used to try and create really ridiculous sounds and subtle sounds and all in between. Here goes.